That decision felt far, far worse than getting robbed.
Range Wilson.
Dawn was breaking outside of Dre's After Hours in Las Vegas, where I had just gotten robbed of $5,000 in poker winnings by a professional pickpocket. I immediately contacted the security staff at Dre's, and although they were sympathetic, they explained that there was not much they could do. Even if a camera had been trained on us, it was very unlikely that it could find anything useful on the dark, crowded dance floor. I realized they may have gotten a piece of the action for looking the other way, or a finder's fee for pointing me out to the pickpocket. But none of that really mattered. Even if the pickpocket had been standing right in front of us, it was still my word against hers. She may have handed off the cash to a Confederate right away, but even if she still had the cash, there was no law against that. If the pickpocket was as professional as she had seemed, she would have all sorts of cover stories and alibis lined up. Meanwhile, I had nobody to back up my story. As for the police, going to them would be even more hopeless. There had been no violence and no injuries, and the cash was untraceable. I would just be one of thousands of pickpocket victims with no hope of getting my cash back or seeing justice served. As I stood there at Dre's, all of these thoughts ran through my mind very quickly. I knew how the Las Vegas game was played, and I knew that this time around I had lost. There was nothing I could do but catch a cab back to the Rio as the sun rose over the horizon, hop in my car, and drive home while pondering my life choices. Later that day, when I told Sean what had happened, he was surprised that I was not more upset. But to my mind, it was easy come, easy go. I had never won that much money that quickly before, and it affected me very strangely. Intellectually, I knew the money was real, and I had plenty of uses for it. But emotionally, it never really felt like mine. As I told Sean, I probably would have blown it on something stupid anyway. In any case, there was nothing I could do about it, so I simply got back to the poker and screenwriting grind. But the fate that awaited me there felt much worse than getting robbed. As far as poker, my luck ran out at the World Series of Poker, and I quickly blew through my remaining live poker bankroll. That meant I would have to return to the online poker grind. But the news was no better there. The methods for moving money around were getting shadier and shadier, while the games themselves were getting tougher and tougher. Long break-even stretches were now the rule rather than the exception. I still had a 5-month cushion for my living expenses, but it was time to seriously consider other ways to make money. Meanwhile, the news out of Hollywood was equally bad. The studios continued to focus on remakes, sequels, and other camera-ready projects. The market for original screenplays had dried up almost completely. Long-established screenwriters were leaving the field left and right. As a new screenwriter, I felt like I had virtually zero chance to break in, no matter how good I got. I reluctantly concluded that I would have to shelve my screenwriting dreams, probably for good. That decision felt far, far worse than getting robbed. I had invested an enormous amount of time and energy into learning about screenwriting. I had landed a job in Hollywood, and I had written screenplays that would have been good enough to break me in just a few years earlier. Now I had to give it all up. Tune in next time to find out what happened when I pulled the plug. Until then, you can catch up on my life videos by clicking on the playlist. My name is Range Wilson, and I'll see you next time.